This might be up there for one of my favorites.
And we are live! Welcome back to another week of the Hogwarts, or rather Harry Potter Roundtable. I was playing Hogwarts Legacy a little bit before we started the show, getting some more of the Merlin's Trials done. I finally got all of the challenges for that done, so if I do any extra, it's just for the extra space in my bags. But we are finally here.
No, we're not.
I'm not paying
Like
attention.
out of context. It's like, I need that extra space in my bags, girl. You know what I'm saying?
What?
We are finally here, the beginning of the end. And I am not here alone to enjoy this experience. I am being joined by everybody's favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian Basement, and Mr. Marvel 613, aka Connor. How are you guys doing?
Connor, how are you?
I'm doing splendiferous. How about you, Basement?
I'm not going to make up a word. I'm doing pretty good.
I'm very still.
Oh, God. For long,
we'll talk about that on Notebooks. If we remember. Oh my god. But yes, we are here finally. Deathly Hallows Part 1. The largest book of the entire series, which made it have to be broken down into 2 separate movies in order to fit every important detail that they needed to put into this movie. And
they forgot some.
Yeah, they forgot quite a few in my opinion, but it is still a fantastic movie in my opinion. What about you guys, without going into too much detail here? Connor, how about you start us off?
So overall thoughts about this one?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I felt like I needed like a comfort blanket after this movie. Like this and I mean this in all the best ways. I'm not like bashing the movie, but it took I didn't feel like I was watching the same franchise.
Right?
Like it felt like it was such a dark pivotal turn that it felt like the theme of this movie is hopelessness.
Yes.
And there is so much I really like about this one, to be very honest with you. I mean, I still hold a lot of like the fourth and I still hold Order of Phoenix and Goblet of Fire up there, but man, this one is a tough one to not enjoy. There is Harry and everyone take center stage. No one can be trusted. I do have some questions too, but wow, this was a powerful fucking movie. Good Lord. I know some stuff was omitted, but Jesus Christ, this was a powerful movie.
Basement, what about you?
I mean, it's
all right.
it's all right. Yeah, it's not one of my favorite movies, but it's still a very good movie. I think overall, like the theme changes are great, and it's needed in Harry Potter. And it was going there anyway. It's a natural progression from the last couple of movies to end up here. And again, this is like it's always going to suffer in some way, but they really minimalize it on it being the first part to a part 2. That is the major payoff for most of the things they kind of set up or have been setting up. I still think it sets up the part 2 in a very intriguing way, and it's still a fun watch. I find a bit of issues in the pacing that are unavoidable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And this is it's just stretching part of that book out to fill the time they need. And it's not like I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know how you could do it a different way to make it better, but it's still going to be a problem, I guess.
The slowest part
of
the entire movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's neither here nor there. There's a lot of good story beats, and they do include enough to have it be very entertaining. But again, and the outside of that slow part, there is also like the kind of like one of the weaker endings of the movie franchises for me.
This thing was his thunder.
I could see that in a way, but
It's not as strong as the last
implications-
movie's ending.
The implications that are given with this ending are fucking massive.
Yeah, it's one of those things that is definitely like, in all honesty, if it wasn't a sit down and watch fucking Harry Potter for 6 hours,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where I'd love to watch them together. It's just such a time commitment,
Oh,
and they
definitely.
they would work really well together. And I kind of feel the same way as like Infinity War and Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
But I find the Harry Potter ones, for me at least, are reversed. Where I liked Infinity War more than Endgame, I like 2 more than 1 in this instant.
Yeah.
But still, like we'll get into it, and there's so many good things that they do here.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
what a
it's
fucking
such
setup, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's such a good tonal change, and the way that they integrate some of the changes, and I'll get into it as we go through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's really, really well done. So I'm looking forward to breaking this one down.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the movie, I think, out of the entire franchise so far that is going to have us having a lot to say, even for the parts that are the slow parts. Because there's a lot of things going on, even within those slow parts, that are just, very minute details that tell a big story and how long they're actually traveling for with this movie. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it's just like it bores you but sucks you in at the same time, because it's like, all right, can we just get on with the story? Can we just get on with the story?
It's one of those things that I feel on like multiple rewatches is a bit dragging.
Yeah.
But on like a first watch, I would have probably no problem with what was going on. So it's a rewatch issue, I think, and it's just because
I completely agree with what Heather said, because it's like you feel like it's dragging, and all of a sudden it's like, Merry Christmas, Hermione. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
here we are. This is where like I honestly feel like this specific movie and the movie before will benefit from being an adaptation to television. More than a lot of the other movies.
Right,
Like the
because
first
they-
2, not really so much, but the rest will.
Right.
They omit so much as they go on, which again we kind of discussed before about
it's like 6 hours. It's a fucking movie. If you add the first and the second together, it's like 5, maybe 5.5. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Too fucking short.
But hello to everybody in the chat as well. We have Alpha and Paul joining us right now. Let's jump in on the story, shall we?
Woo!
Do it.
The film begins with Harry Potter and Hermione Granger starting their search for Voldemort's Horcruxes. Meanwhile, Severus Snape arrives at Malfoy Manor to tell Voldemort and the rest of his council, I can't see today apparently, that he's been appointed the new headmaster of Hogwarts. He also tells them that the Order of the Phoenix will be moving Harry Potter from Privet Drive to a safe house. Voldemort uses Lucius Malfoy's wand to avoid using twin wands in a dueling battle. We're going to pause it right there because this opening had a pre-opening to it.
Yeah, I think the first like line that they included is kind of wrong.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, this movie actually opens up with seeing the Golden Trio figuring out the best way to say goodbye to their families in their own way. We see the Dursleys packing up their entire house, and Harry having a short exchange of words with Petunia Dursley, which this is the first time Petunia has been seen as human, in my opinion.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because despite everything that they put them through, Harry is still putting their safety first by telling them, you need to leave. If they find out that you have any semblance of idea where I'm going or what our plan is, you are dead. And she responds to him with, do you think I'm not understanding of what they're capable of? You didn't just lose a mother that night. I lost a sister. And that's the first time within the movie franchise that she has actually admitted to claiming Lily as her family. Which, that right there was just like, oh my god! For me in the movie. And then in the movie theaters. And then you had Ron contemplating how he was going to tell his family or how he was going to get away from his family to go on this journey. And then heartbreakingly, we see Hermione obliviating her parents so that they have no memory of her.
I know what you're talking about, but just the phrase "obliviating her
Yeah.
parents" is out of context. It's really
If you've seen the
funny.
movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Just the picture that just fucking blow it out of a fucking window. But continue.
And then seeing her just on her own with her tiny little satchel, which is fucking... I want that spell for real life, goddammit.
See, here's the fucked up thing, and I don't know if this is just like what I did here in fucking Canada. The scene with the Dursleys was nothing. What I had was her getting them leaving, and that's it. There's no conversation. There's nothing like that happens in the movie. It was like cut to.
Maybe it was a Canadian thing.
Yeah,
Harry
it was,
looking out.
because I got that scene
I'm
every
wondering
time
if,
I
like,
watched it.
I'm wondering if there's like an extended edition or something, because when I watched it, either I looked away for 10 seconds. How long is the scene? Is it more
It's
than
about
5 seconds?
10 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I looked, and then like I saw your message about it, right? Because you tweeted about it in the DMs, and then I was like, I'm gonna rewatch this part, and it still didn't show up. And then the car left, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what the fuck. But I've seen the deleted scenes of it. Of more like the deleted scenes of Harry Potter, and having more interaction with the Dursleys, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that was what they did just in the one I had, because everything else was there except for that, and it was weird that it wasn't.
It could have been, but like I said, here in America, every time I have watched this movie, even before the extended cuts were released for streaming services, I was able to see that scene.
Ironic that the Americans can see an English scene and not the Canadians. This is just my opinion. The beginning of this movie and the end of this movie are my favorites, and I think some of the best stuff in the entire movie. Not saying that there aren't good things in between, but for me personally, the way this movie starts and the way this movie ends, fucking, it's hard for me to top that shit. You instantly, from right off the bat, can tell shit's going down. Things are different. Everyone's panicked. Everyone's shitting themselves. And I'm not sure if you picked up on this, Basement. The music was haunting.
Okay, I do agree that like the music in the beginning, at least for sure, was on point. I found like the score took kind of a backseat in the middle of the movie, but
agreed. But I'm saying this particular part, this opening part, the music was just like, ugh.
So there's one thing that this doesn't. So I was obsessing about that, and I just went back and looked at it. It's not in this fucking movie for me. I don't know why, but it's not. For some reason, it's weird because they cut to the fucking the Mother Dursley just sitting in the car looking contemplative, and it's like, what the fuck?
Nope.
Okay. Anyways, so the entire beginning of this movie it sets the tone first with the new Minister of Magic kind of like looking at everybody looking at the camera and talking to them, and it's very evident by what they set the stage with at first that shit has hit the fan and people are going crazy. This is like war is upon us, type deal, right? And they know how big it is. So like the idea of like the Hermione scene for me is the strongest of the bunch because
Agreed.
It's like, you know, her parents had nothing to do with the wizarding world for the most part, except for the wizard having a kid that's a witch.
Right.
And her having to like basically uproot their entire lives. I know in the book she ships them off to Australia, which I wish they would have done in the movie, in all honesty, because there's so many inconsistencies. Or at least show her taking down the photos, empty photo frames.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, I get like you want to.
Here's a picture of me next to an empty high chair. That makes a whole lot of sense.
I know. It was like that to me. Like on a surface level, it's impactful emotionally. If you think about it for like more than 10 seconds, you're like, okay, something else had to go on there. So that was a big one. And I even wrote like there's moments with the Dursleys that I would have loved to see because for some reason, didn't get that fucking one. I know the scene because I've seen it before,
Right.
but it's not in this for some reason. And I just thought it was part of the deleted scenes, which sucks because it should be part of the movie as a whole.
Dursley stuff was so well handled in the sense of you didn't need a whole lot because it's not about them. You didn't need a whole lot of dialogue because it's not about them. But you had just those two moments that just kind of set like again it just piles on to the message being sent within the first fucking 15 minutes of the movie. Shit is hitting the fan. Things are different. Everything that you knew from the beginning is vastly changing. Like everything is different now.
Yes.
And so I don't think Heather was here when I said this, but I said I think the beginning and the end of the movie are some of my favorite things of the entire thing, and mainly because this is such a different. I told you before, like I felt like I was fucking watching another goddamn franchise or different movie. All like you wouldn't think this was the same. Harry Potter's come to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It is not the same shit. It is darker. It is more emotional, and I'm in for the ride.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't follow that formula that the other movies kind of did, at least to an extent.
I'm crying in the corner. What's new, Scooby-Doo? Coming after you. They killed fucking Scrappy.
No, I mean, that's not all that, like, I mean, yes, that's the beginning of the movie, but then it switches over to the Voldemort segment, which I fucking love. Like, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because they show like the desperation of our heroes or whatever, and then they finally show like the depravity of the fucking villain and like a situation where he has intimidated everybody that's at that table.
Oh yeah.
And also, obviously, with the fucking woman upside down, the Muggle teacher upside down, it's just like a perfectly crafted scene for like what we expect or what we
would hope.
It's the next level of what we see with Voldemort, with willingly just killing like just a nobody basically, or like
yeah.
The last movie, to me, and this is just my opinion, the last movie solidified Voldemort and his forces as the dangerous threat that's going to fucking destroy everything. But it didn't do that until Dumbledore was dead. Yeah. And it kind of felt like that was, I mean, obviously Dumbledore dying is a big fucking deal, and Snape's, quote unquote confirmation betrayal. We'll talk about that next week. But that kind of was obviously overshadowed. But I felt like at the end of the movie, a big part was like, yeah. Anyone else going to talk about these like fucking giant army that fucking Voldemort's amassing? No. So this scene to me reaffirmed it, like, hey, if you thought it was just a small ragtag group of guys with like cloaks and shit,
guess again.
Nay. Watch out for that snake.
It's also finally a scene that isn't a direct like look from Harry's point of view into what Voldemort's doing, or Harry in the scene with Voldemort. Yeah. This is a scene from Snape's perspective, yes. And it's such a smart thing to do for where the story goes with him, to have him enter and have him be like the stoic, like not emotional person in front of like what is happening. Where if you look at like everybody else there, they're all fucking super intimidated by Voldemort. Snape is not really, yeah. And it's great the way that they play it, and with the fucking Muggle teacher, and she starts calling out, and she's like,
Snape,
that was
we're friends.
We're friends. And he just sits there staring at her like,
you know what's funny? I think obviously I'm a little bit of foreshadowing, but like that scene is so much more powerful knowing where things are going with Snape, because it's not like he previews it by like squinting or like scoffing away, or like he doesn't react.
No.
And it's that kind of reaction that you'd get out of like, oh, he's, we'll get into it more next week. But my point is that I've never seen anything like that in the sense of like someone being, because usually when like you have a situation like that, there's like a little bit of foreshadowing here and there, like, oh yeah, but not even fucking remotely close. It's just game facing it. Don't play him in poker, you'll fucking.
G, man.
What's that?
That's why Snape is such a G. He's
yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters.
G unit.
Turned up hired.
What I
G
love also,
194.
yeah, what I also love about this opening is before we get to that Voldemort scene, we also have the WB logo rusting as it's zooming in on it. It's just like those minute details. It's just like, oh my god.
Because he knows Warner Brothers is dying at the start.
Well, from like
Right?
right, but also from like the logo being pristine in the first couple of movies. It's like, yeah, we're going into a bad place.
I can't imagine why they're doing another reboot of the series. Anyway, moving on.
Turn to page.
And also the part with Ron when he came to get his dad out of the shed and he's fixing that radio where he had told Ron, this radio is how the Order of the Phoenix found each other when we got separated during the First War. That extra glance back from Ron is just like, yep, that's coming with me.
Yeah, that is also like a stalwart throughout the movie too,
Yeah.
right? I wrote here like because while watching that Voldemort scene, like, I can't say enough good things about Ralph Fiennes in that role.
God,
I don't think
yes.
no matter who takes up the helm, it's like taking up the helm of fucking Hannibal Lecter in terms of like how well it's pulled off.
Oh yeah, he's
100%, yes.
he is. It's something about his mannerisms, and you know what's funny? I say this in the best way. He does the exact same thing in fucking Red Dragon. Like, there's a lot of similarities. I don't know if you guys ever seen him in Red Dragon.
He does the same thing in fucking
Menu.
Everything.
Schindler's List. He
Yes.
is despicable. He's fucking horrible in that movie.
You're an inanimate fucking object. But it's just there's something about like the way he just like smoothly,
He's
quietly,
he's slithery, man.
with
Oh, yeah.
conf-
He gets
like,
the idea of being part snake to a fucking T.
Those shoes on, man. Jesus Christ.
No.
If I ever get to meet this man, I'm gonna ask him, how many pairs of shoes he had on the side that could handle Voldemort's toenails.
No
He probably had
sandals.
sandals forever.
Dude, even fucking Jesus had fucking sandals. For God's sake. But no, love the snake eating scene and just, whew, good shit.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a good like. We're ready to go. This is not like we're departing even from like early teens. The last movie went to like 16. This is
the balls dropped.
No, this
Voldemort's
is
not gonna
definitely
get me.
this is definitely 19, 20-year-old stuff here going on.
Yep.
Moving right along with the story here. After Harry's family, the Dursleys, flee their home, the Order of the Phoenix arrive to meet Harry along with 6 others. Ron Weasley, Hermione, Fred and George Weasley, Fleur Delacour, and Mundungus Fletcher. We get to meet this motherfucker finally. They all take Polyjuice Potion to become Harry's doppelgangers. Harry and the 6 copies leave Privet Drive accompanied by a protector, whilst the real Harry flies alongside Hagrid on his flying motorbike, which I loved that line. I brought you here, I am taking you away from here. They are intercepted almost immediately by Death Eaters, and the pairs scatter. Voldemort arrives, but Harry manages to defeat his borrowed wand, and the group arrives safely at the Burrow. All but Mad-Eye Moody, who was killed by Voldemort and Mundungus, who disapparated when he saw Voldemort arrive. George has a bad head wound from a curse Snape conjured during the battle, which is right there. Ron convinces Harry to remain at the Burrow until after Bill and Fleur's wedding before going to find more Horcruxes. Minister of Magic Rufus Scrimgeour. Fucking Bill Nagy with this one. Oh my god. Arrives at the Burrow and distributes the items from Dumbledore's last will and testament to Ron, Hermione, and Harry. Ron receives the Deluminator. Harry gets the missing sword of Gryffindor and the first snitch he ever caught, and Hermione gets a personal copy of the Tales of the Beetle and the Bard. During the wedding, Harry sees... Oh, God.
Well, it's going super far.
It is going super far, but it's also... This is a scene where it gets everything going, and I want to incorporate everything with it.
All right, let's do it.
Xenophilus Lovegood and notices a strange symbol on his necklace. Harry speaks to Aphelios Doge, one of Dumbledore's oldest friends, and Ron's aunt Muriel, and learns that Dumbledore used to live in Harry's hometown, Godric's Hollow. A Patronus message sent by Kingsley Shacklebolt appears and warns that the Ministry has fallen. Scrimgeour is dead and that they are coming. Death Eaters appear and trash the ceremony, leading Ron, Harry, and Hermione to apparate to London. We'll pause it right there.
Whew.
There is a ton going on with this right now. And let me just say, holy fucking shit, Batman.
I know we're gonna complain about the pacing of this movie, but Jesus Christ, the beginning part
it
is
throws
just like
everything at you within the first 20 minutes and then just
yeah. Basement, do you want to go first?
Sure.
So,
there is so in the books, right? And I can't remember the extent. And Heather, you can fill me in. There's like a mirror that he has that he can see Dumbledore's picture or something, right? Or something like right. It's never explained in the movie.
It's never explained in the movie, but he actually got it off of Dobby after Dobby.
The poster.
Which enrages me because it's actually a plot point in this movie. So, and I get like you can't retroactively add it to the last one, but holy fucking Christ, at least do something to explain it, and they don't, and he's just looking into it and seeing part of Dumbledore's face or something.
He says, I see Dumbledore's blue eyes in the book.
Yeah, it was at least explained to some extent. In the movies, it's just there, and he has it.
He just keeps randomly staring at it.
I found the Polyjuice potion scene, like it's a fun scene with all of them turning into Harry Potter. But the I'm like,
Fleur Delacour, don't look at me, Bill. I am hideous.
I have questions about Polyjuice potions because everybody now has they know everything about Harry Potter.
Yeah. Especially since they had to change
If you
clothes.
polyjuiced into a man and had sex with a woman, could you, in fact, how does that work? Anyways, I have found myself questioning Polyjuice potion way beyond what this show and the books wanted me to.
That's what you've hung up on in this whole.
Well, no, that has nothing to do with the movie. It's just.
Oh, I'm well
questions that arose at that moment.
Do with genitalia.
So there's the chase scene that happens. I found the chase scene pretty. Again, it's another fucking fun action scene. They really front load this movie with action scenes. I chuckled at Hedwig.
Zap.
Because I've seen it so many times, it's just kind of like
fucking monster.
But they also so I love the fact that you're like Hagrid's like I brought you into this area, I'm gonna take you out of it, and immediately he gets stunned and unconscious.
Yeah.
And is useless and he's gigantic.
I had I'm gonna make sure to take care of you, Harry becomes literally biggest burden of the entire movie for Harry Potter.
That was fucking hilarious. And I'm pretty sure a couple people died in that chase.
Yes.
On top of that, by the way, I'm always like, I brought you in here. It's like, so technically, Hagrid, this whole situation is your fault.
Your fault.
Sorry about that.
It's hilarious because and I can't remember if that's the way it works in the books, but for the longest time, giants were spells bounce off them. Not this spell.
He's only half giant.
That's true.
So
but he's also
kicked his ass.
Well, he fucking got knocked the fuck out, and they went down to the scene is one thing I think this movie does really well is incorporate magic and the real world when they show both together.
Yes.
And they do it through multiple means, and some of it's how they display how magic works, because they have though they have shown it in increments, they kind of dial that up a little bit higher in this movie, and I'll explain a bit later when we get to it. So yeah, Hedwig gets fucking KO'd. That's great. That's the end for them. I did find too, it was funny when they I don't know, it's weird because Harry and Hagrid land, and Hagrid just looks at him, and it's like. Mm-hmm. He has the sad face. It's you were fucking unconscious. You don't even know Hedwig died. You don't know what happened.
I'm sorry, Harry.
Thank God nobody has bad memories. Once everybody else shows up, what was in my room on the 7th day I met you?
Right.
Oh my god, yeah.
Christ,
Like,
I was smoking pot, dude. I can't remember.
No, but in the books, the chase scene with everybody is extended to a great deal. Hagrid is actually maneuvering and evading the spells being flung at them until finally he is hit with, I think it was Bombarda, actually, that he was hit with, that actually knocked him out.
sorry, real quick. I meant to. I have a small note here. It said, "Hey, you know what won't cause a distraction in the middle of the fucking flight scene is a goddamn flamethrower on the back of a motorcycle."
Like, he's gonna be hard to find. Fucking
I wonder which one is the real Harry? Question mark.
got headwing flying around him.
Fucking fried
Oh,
chicken.
God.
Hey, great way to say incognito.
I'm just like, I get if they're like away, but they weren't even like that far away from like people chasing them, and then it's like, Jesus.
I did
also,
like the addition. Sorry, go
just,
ahead.
Yeah, just real quick to answer your question. Yes, Mad-Eye Moody was killed, and since he was with Mundungus, he was missing, presumed dead.
Okay, I did like the part where Voldemort's like chasing Harry,
Yes.
and they're in between the power lines, and he gets his wand broken, and just like fucking rage explodes the electricity.
Yep.
And in the background, they did their due diligence and had it though it's such a minor detail. In the background, you see like the lights go out and the small houses below in sequence. I'm like, okay, good. At least they
Continuity.
For that scene,
Yeah.
I put Amazing Spider-Man 2 Electro.
He's back. I didn't have anything else to add to the chase scene, unless you guys, because the next scene it did talk about the next fucking wedding setup and shit
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, before we go on to it, though, in the book, they don't actually go to the Hollow directly. They actually go to Tonk's parents' house.
Which
don't
that would
remember
make more
this at all.
sense.
Hagrid and Harry, they don't end up at the Hollow because of Hagrid being unconscious. They actually end up at Tonks' parents' house, and she happens to be there too. So,
I mean, that would
and
make a
then
lot more sense.
from there they're led to Grimwald Place, actually, in the book.
That's the one thing I'm hoping that, at least with the show, you can get some development for Tonks and the other characters that are like in desperate need of it, because all they are really is faces with like 2 lines of character development
Yeah,
in the movie.
I mean, I was so
Yeah.
hoping after reading. Oh God! Yeah, after reading Half-Blood Prince, I was so hoping she was going to be the one to find him on the train after Malfoy broke his nose and petrified him. But no, it had to be fucking Luna Lovegood.
I get it. They kind of have to like, you have to subtract from a character to give one character more, and because it's kind of like the movies are geared a bit more towards the young group, they're gonna go with the younger character.
But yeah, moving on to the wedding now.
Connor.
Okay. Am I alone here, which I could be, in thinking that this was a very stupid thing for them to fucking do?
Yes.
Yeah, but again, it's Fleur Delacour.
But you're trying to be incognito. You're trying not to showcase. You're literally having a fucking giant like tent construction thing, like in the middle of like a fucking. Why?
Because the
I can't
Weasleys are a
remember.
family that doesn't like to show fear, despite the fact that Ron whimpers at the sight of a spider.
How about show brains, for God's sakes?
I get like their idea behind it, and that the way I remember it kind of explained is the fact that like we need something good in these dark times, so that people feel like
A sense
it's
of
not all
normalcy.
just fucking fear and hiding, and we're
So-
gonna be out here. But like I can't remember in the book if they took more precautions than just having 5 people in front of the tent in the open fucking air.
Okay, so here's the thing that I'm just throwing this out there, right? I would be all in favor of like we can't live in fear. We need to do this to kind of like establish some sort of normalcy. Fine.
Do it
If it
safely.
wasn't for the fucking scene with Harry and Ron right before where Harry was trying to leave and like saying, you guys are doing this all for me. And like, no, it's not just about you. And it's like, here's a great idea. Let's make a fucking target on ourselves. Hooray. Like it just, the two, like, you know what I mean? Like two scenes just infuriated me next to each other.
I literally wrote, it's so retarded that they have a huge wedding get together in the midst of being hunted by Death Eaters.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And now that just might be strung it up to a failure on the writing end. Because I'm
fine,
pretty sure
like,
it was
It's not the
similar in
movie
book.
writing, because in the book the wedding was still there.
And that's
so
what I mean.
it's
The book-
JK.
Well, look,
yeah.
I can accept that though if it wasn't for the fact that it was literally right after a scene where Harry's like, I'm gonna leave because they're after me. You shouldn't have to sacrifice yourselves. And Ron's like, it's not about you. Then steals his bag, and then it's like wedding time. Like, you fucking dumbasses.
I think honestly, because I don't recall being so like appalled by it in the book. I think it's something that works way better in the book and how you read it and how other information is presented than it does on an actual movie watch. Because the movie watch, it does come off really dumb.
And to answer your question, in the book, it wasn't just 5 people standing at the doors of the tent. It was the people at the doors of the tent along with a like a shield like Hogwarts had over
that's
it.
what I figured.
Yeah. So they were basically, they were protected, and that's why the only way a message could get through was from a member of the Order of the Phoenix, because it was a friendly one.
Followed by,
You know what it was, and this is the other thing too. And this is one thing I was forgetting, even coming up with. Oh, it's retarded to do this and have this big wedding. I think there wouldn't have really been a huge problem with the wedding if it didn't coincide with the Ministry falling.
Yes.
Because that is something that does happen in that scene.
Yeah, I think that's the juxtaposition with it, is just that like I personally wouldn't be opposed to like the whole wedding thing. And honestly, in terms of setting up the next advancing to the next level of everything's fucked and we're shitting ourselves, visually it creates a very intriguing moment where like the party's crashed, right? So fucking shit's flying, people's dying, everyone's scrambling around like fucking madhouse. Like I like that because it added just more on top of the concept of fuck, everything's fucked, chaos amounts, woo! Prepare you to shit yourself.
It's also a good it's a good way to get like the entirety of the Order of Phoenix and all of the kids and stuff, like they have to like go in their separate directions.
Yes.
And conflict makes that happen. Am I alone in being like I wrote "fuck you, creepy Ginny" because there's a scene where Harry's just standing there and she just flies in out of nowhere. Get me up, will you? And he's like in the kitchen. I'm like, where were you getting dressed, girl? She came out with her fucking zipper down just to tell him that. It's good to see that.
So did Harry.
He wished at that moment. I did laugh though, because I think when, like the wedding happens a bit after this, but before the wedding, when the minister shows up and like, I thought of it in my mind, like, why are you here, minister? And he's like, I think we both know the answer to that, Mr. Potter. And he sits down, and none of them have any fucking clue why he's actually there.
They all look like they just got sent to the principal's office. They all had that look of, oh shit, we're in fucking trouble. What the fuck did we do? What the hell is going on?
You could cast Bill Nighy in the most upbeat role in the world, and he still looks like the fucking most miserable Nosferatu I've ever seen in my fucking life.
He looks like you just told him not only did his dog die, but so did his child.
Man, I would be terrified to sit across from him with just a stoic look on his face, because I feel like he's coming to murder me and take my soul.
I feel like he's the prototypical you don't want to date his daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't want to date him.
No, that's.
I also do love that with this scene when he is presenting them with the items that Dumbledore has left them. You get that feeling of why though?
Yeah.
Oh,
especially once he gets to the book and the snitch.
I do at the very end, because I love how it's like You, sir, are left the sword of Gryffindor, which
However,
we
it
don't
is
know
not
where
yours.
the fuck it is right now.
It's yours, baby.
You're doing
Got
great,
it.
Minister.
I just chuckled to myself when it was like, you think it's like, we both know the answer to that, Mr. Potter. Straight cut.
No.
So why are you here? It killed me.
It's so true.
Now at the wedding too. At the wedding, there's a conversation that happens where
There's
Harry
several
comes in.
conversations that happen with Harry and several of the guests.
It's true. I did enjoy all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry and Lovegood and her dad, and that was a great one because she obviously can read people really well, even though she comes off weird.
Super blunt.
But it's like, yeah, she's just saying like he was too nice to say this, but he doesn't want to fucking talk to us, so let's move on. Which I wish more people would do in real life.
Yeah, I agree.
But he goes and sits down and talks to that old guy, right?
Yeah. Now I was. This is where some parts of this movie, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little fuzzy and lost on, and I don't know if it's because of I'm fucking deaf or I was just trying to keep track of fucking ADHD overload. But it seemed like the biggest takeaway from the conversation he had was, one, he noticed the symbol that was written on the book that I think Dumbledore left to Hermione, right?
Mm-hmm.
He looked right at the symbol on her dad's neck, right?
And on a personal note, I also noticed that they were mentioning about facts about Dumbledore that Harry didn't know.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite scene in this wedding scene, because this is the moment where it hits Harry when the woman's like, are you sure you really knew him at all after all this information? And even in from what I remember in the books, they built up Dumbledore to be a certain character, and everyone's like, I like him and I like his character. And then this is the first monkey wrench being thrown into that character.
Yeah.
And especially with Harry, when he only has a couple solid things in his life, that being one of them, and the memory of him, because with that fucking piece of glass, he's obviously dealing with the loss of Dumbledore.
Yep.
And then to hear are you sure you really knew anything about him? It sets such a good groundwork for where the story goes in the books, in the movies as well, but more so in the books because they flesh things out.
It sends the message that, everything's fucked right now for Harry. Things are fucking crumbling around him. And the one person that he looked up to more than anybody else, the one person that he idolized, that he had some rocky stuff happened, but he had faith in him and everything worked out, was Dumbledore, only to find out there are things about him that he didn't even know.
Yeah, especially when they dropped that tidbit of it, especially after that scandal with his sister. And it's it makes the audience, the first time they're hearing it, understand that there were things going on in Dumbledore's young life that really did not make him a very good guy.
He be double doing it every day. He chef. Do.
No.
See, spoiler.
See, that wasn't what it was though. This is where you gotta watch Crimes of Grindelwald.
God, more. I have no right to I was about to say I have no right to complain after all the Marvel stuff we've watched. So continue.
I don't mind watching something that fleshes something out that I don't necessarily need to know. It's when I have to watch something to understand something I'm watching that pisses me off.
Yeah, agreed. No, the Fantastic Beasts things it's literally just the expansion on the prehistory to Harry, and fleshing that out more. It's not explaining Harry or how his story came about. This is even before Voldemort. So,
ooh, pre-V.
Yeah. So if you watched the first one already, you might as well watch the second two and give your full thoughts on it, because those three are a combined story being told. So and everything happening. If the Sword of Gryffindor, I'm going to come back to this every fucking time. Every fucking time. If the Sword of Gryffindor was indeed not Dumbledore's to give in the first fucking place, why did you even bother mentioning it?
He's new at the job.
You heard what he said before. You know why I'm here, Potter. What?
You're gonna argue with him? I'm not gonna fucking know. I'm gonna do what he says.
But it's Father. Yeah, and when the shit goes down and everybody just starts apparating, the old man clutching his giant family album, and he's like, "Nice meeting you, Potter," and then poof, oh god, here we go. But this is also where a little Easter egg is going to come up, because after they get to London, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, you're going to notice something. So let's move on with the story. I'll tell you what that something is. And then from there on, I'll tell you what the Easter egg is. Taking refuge in a cafe, they discuss their immediate plans, but before they can leave, 2 Death Eaters arrive and begin dueling. The trio win the battle and disapparate to Grimwald Place, where they discover that Regulus Arcturus Black, Sirius's younger brother, is the RAB in the false locket found at the end of Half-Blood Prince. Creature reveals that the real locket was in the house, but Mundungus stole it when he looted Grimwald Place. Harry sends Creature to get Mundungus, who in turn explains that Dolores Umbridge took it from him in return for not revoking his peddler's license. The trio decide to break into the Ministry, now under the eyes of the Death Eaters, to retrieve the locket. Now, in this scene, they're sitting down. They had ordered their drinks. And I believe it was Hermione who said something about Voldemort. And not 10 seconds later, those 2 Death Eaters pop in.
Oop.
There's a trace on Voldemort's name.
No, they own the Ministry. So.
Exactly. So anybody who speaks his name, Death Eaters are going to arrive.
That's why everybody didn't say his name previously.
Right. But it's also why, from that moment on through, until they are captured, that they never say his name. Did either of you notice that?
You're going to make me have to go watch it again, aren't you? God, you really?
Yeah.
Wait, from that moment onwards, they don't say his name.
They do not say his name because it is
I'm
not
pretty
time.
Sure, yeah,
it is not time for them to be caught. It's only when that they meet up with the other Death Eaters. Just before that, they say his name, because that is the time for them to be caught.
God damn it. Clever writers.
So yeah.
Cafe scene.
I love the fact that it's okay. So this is where I wanted to say, like, there's a slight change to how they depict magic, and it's a lot more impactful. And if I had to relate it to anything in the cafe scene, it reminds me of like 90s action movies where someone would shoot up like a fucking restaurant and things would just explode everywhere.
I literally have in my notes for that scene, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Yeah, it gives it like an impact that is much more serious. Like if you look, oh god, let's not say that name. If you look in the past in the movies when they like did stuff, it still like hit the like stupefying, the character would flip or whatever, but it was a bit more comical. And in this, it almost mimics like gunshots.
Well, yeah, because the glass and hitting everything. But by the way,
the destruction it does.
I have to mention now that because now they're using it so often. Part of me, am I? I know the answer to the question, but am I an asshole for hoping that every time he hits someone with the phrase "stupefy," either 2 things hit, either it's ooh ah, or that you hear them fly like they get stupid because they get hit by it.
You'd think
you're not an asshole for that, no. But
I don't know what half the fucking spells do except for Petrificus Totalis. Totalis.
There's also something else with this scene. If you notice, if you pay close enough attention. The wand grips on each of them. Hermione's
yes, I've seen that. Yeah, I've read about this one.
Hermione's is textbook.
Oh, I've had this, yeah.
And it's very matter-of-factly. Harry's is too tight and he's swinging too widely. And then you have Ron, who is swinging and gripping his wand perfectly.
Because he's from a family.
The worst student out of all of them is doing it perfect.
Yep.
I loved in the scene where Ron is just like, he's got full-on bloodline. What if the one that killed Mad Eye? We're gonna do him. It's like, what the fuck? Are you sure you're not a Death Eater? You son of a bitch.
Rub his head and sell it. That's for true.
Guess who's
Feel
back?
better?
But I did like the scenes where they meld magic and the real world, and they do it in a way that it just, for me, it worked. I don't know. You don't see it too often in these movies where there's an actual interaction between those two environments, and it kind of works, especially with these three at least.
Yeah.
And the visuals are great.
Last time we had that was like a flying fucking car. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not when it worked.
No, it did not work there. But also, after they go through all that ordeal and they end up at 12 Grimwald Place, the trap that was set for them to keep people out, how did that not keep Mundungus out? I mean, that dude was a fucking coward.
I mean, I peed.
He's a professional thief.
He
So,
is,
there's that.
but, however, seeing that, he would have had issues. Just saying.
Mundungus was a character that I get you're not supposed to like anything, but I never cared for his character at all in the books or in the movie. However, Creature, something else.
The creature had utter contempt for him. I mean, Mundungus, filthy mudblood.
So I went down like a rabbit hole. So like, who the fuck plays Creature? And when I got the image up. I know the actor enough, but he's not recognizable. I'm like, who the fuck plays Dobby? And you know who plays Dobby?
Yeah.
Fucking Dr. Arnim Zola.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
From Winter Soldier.
Sure does.
And then after I saw that, I'm like, okay, I guess this is how I'm watching the rest of this movie with that guy in my mind.
Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen now.
Dobby says the Red Skull will carry all of Hogwarts.
Oh god.
Holy shit. Winter Soldier program initiate. Dobby's gonna fuck your shit.
What I love is when Creature comes back, it's Dobby that brings him back kicking and screaming.
And Dobby's wearing like fucking Air Jordans.
Yeah. Dobby's a free elf.
Dobby got fucking laid. You know he laid that pipe.
Yeah,
He's just like, Dobby's here to fucking help your shit out. Dobby curses now.
Dobby should get checked.
Oh, come on.
Scratching himself.
Oh, God. It's happening,
It's like
folks.
his
It's
burlap
happening.
sack that he's in. Dobby's had a weird growth for a few weeks now.
A strange
Itches
itch, master.
Itches, it does.
Oh god.
I should have used the sock. Oh, God damn it. Oh, fuck.
We also find out that RAB is Sirius's brother.
And you know what? Ron points it out, which is,
Yeah.
I like that, because finally this guy's not a dingus.
Ron's fucking carrying
He's
his
not
weight.
Captain Outer Space.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to say this, and probably the only thing I'm going to say. Ron, they had Ron play the character of a knucklehead throughout this whole fucking thing.
Yep.
And then in the last two movies, like, if you noticed,
Last three, actually.
he would come up with, like you guys aren't that far, but like the what you were just talking about. And
Yeah,
everybody looks at him,
RAB.
everybody looks at him like, where the fuck did you...
He brings him up to the family mural.
It's not fair, because in the books he's not a knucklehead.
No,
he's
just it's just like they kind of they put like his smarts or where he excels and they give it to Hermione
Yeah,
and they
which
make
is the
him
problem.
the knucklehead, which kind of sucks, but it is.
It is. It really is. And frankly,
It works on screen a bit better because how much you only have a certain time to develop a character, and it's easier to be a bit more one note at the beginning than it is to be
yeah. And they needed to build that dynamic of Hermione's the smart one, Harry is the talented one, and Ron is the one with the wizarding knowledge.
I think Hermione is a combination of all three.
Right.
Dobby would tap it.
Bitch.
Dobby would
Which
tap that. That mud blood.
All up in her mud blood.
And how about... And then on top of that, we have them kidnapping members of the Ministry.
Ah, love it.
Who's kidnapping?
Okay,
Harry,
this
Ron,
is
and
one of my
Hermione.
favorite scenes in this movie. Because once they kidnap them and like they do the polyjuice thing, the adults
locket.
playing them are just fucking comedy gold for me.
Oh my god,
So-
fucking genius. And then trying to figure out the right way to get into the Ministry of Magic after that point. And she's like, oh god.
The
I
actor
love it too.
the actor who plays the adult that Harry takes over, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in several other movies. More specifically, one of my favorite ones is The Departed, where he plays like one of the fucking idiot. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is fucking gold.
He like does a pretty good job getting to like the Harry gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He almost nails his walking style and is like fucking. He does it like he does an excellent job, and the other two are decent. Like I mean, Hermione's kind of like backseat. Ron's guy is there for comedic value, but
Especially since especially once we get to the next scene, it's so closely related to that person. It's just like, oh no. But moving on, now that we're there, Harry, Ron, and Hermione capture 3 Ministry workers and impersonate them to enter the secret Ministry offices, but are quickly split up. The problem with becoming Ministry workers. Hermione ends up in a courtroom with Umbridge to witness a false trial. Ron is in head of magical law enforcement. Wow. Death Eater Yaxley's office. And Harry is free to wander the corridors since he unwittingly copied a Death Eater Runcorn. That's a name. Harry eventually finds his way to Umbridge's office, but doesn't find the locket. So he makes his way to the courtroom alongside Ron. They reunite with Hermione and stun Umbridge to take the locket and attempt to leave the Ministry. However, their polyjuice potion begins to wear off, and during the battle to flew away. Yaxley catches them as they reach Grimmauld Place. Since they cannot safely stay at Grimmauld Place now, Yaxley is a secret keeper. Hermione apparates them to a forest. Ron gets splinched in the process, meaning the group can't apparate until he has its negative effects on their morale. Wait, what? Until he has recovered. Wow. I cannot see tonight, apparently. They attempt to destroy the locket, but their magic proves useless on it, so they take turns wearing it despite its negative effects on their morale. While wearing it, Harry sees a vision of Voldemort interrogating and killing Grigorovich, the wand maker, and going off in search of a mysterious wizard said to have robbed his shop many years ago. Gonna pause it there, because this, again, where the shit hits the fan.
Who robbed his shop?
Oh, God. Grindelwald.
Okay.
His shop was robbed during the time of his and Dumbledore's youth, where the accident happened to his sister.
I think the actor is the guy that played Boris in Snatch.
I believe you are correct.
Oh, damn.
One of the best things I liked about this was just not only how absolutely hopeless it felt, but once they got to the courtroom and they looked up and saw the Dementors, which is like, oh fuck!
That was great. I love that because I'm like, swimming little fucking tadpoles of death up there.
Uh-huh.
That's not scary.
Yes, and then seeing Umbridge wearing the locket at the same time, and then Hermione sitting there being the one taking notes for the whole fake trial, and the fake trial being over the fact that the woman who had gotten her wand from Ollivanders was not a pureblood wizard.
So she was
So,
a wizard, but she was
from what I
she was a
remember, and I
muppet
may
or
be
whatever
completely
you wanna
wrong, in
call
the
her, right?
books,
Right.
like the woman was like a squib
Yes.
that the wand still chose her. She couldn't do magic, but she got a wand, basically.
In the book,
Right?
yes.
Yeah. In this, they don't necessarily say it, but that's why they have her on trial. One thing, okay, so like the first they enter like what is essentially the wizard government through a toilet.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That was
fucking something
fucking
on the
nasty.
nose.
It is. Oh, disgusting.
The acting on this is fun. The fact that
The woman
uh
is supposedly the wife of the guy that Ron transfigured himself into with the polyjuice potion.
and also like all the scenes in this are great for me because they kind of now this is the moment that this movie kind of brings back to like essentially what Harry Potter used to be like it's a bit of fun
Mm-hmm.
even though the stakes are large. There's a bit of fun that used to exist in like the earlier movies where this movie has very little of, understandably so, but I like the scene with all three of the adult actors playing as them, and the fact that Umbridge gets involved. And then when you fast forward towards the end of the scenes where they get into the basement, and Umbridge is wearing the thing, the locket. Her Patronus is a cat,
Yeah.
and it's like weird how they show it because it's like parts of like she's basically casting Patronus indefinitely.
Well,
That's
it's
just
to
like
keep
holding them at
it's
bay.
to keep the Dementors up above.
Right.
Yeah,
So they don't
it's,
come
it's
down
the only
prematurely.
time. It's the first time I've seen that spell cast that way. Usually, it's like, oh, I'm gonna like, Harry Potter just shoots it out,
Yeah.
but she like has it there indefinite. I also, and this is not like I can't take credit for this, but I did read this somewhere where it's like, Umbridge can wear the locket without negative effects because she is happiest being fucking terrible anyway. She
Yes,
is like
exactly.
she likes torturing and being evil, and like all like as you look as it goes on, obviously there are negative effects to wearing it. She has no problem wearing it day in day out.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
Which
catch.
is just
That-
just points even more to how pure evil this fucking bitch is.
Is she
Well,
pure
that was-
evil, or was she?
The thing is, like her heart's a lot of times it exploits your like heart's weakness or whatever. Like at least what we see with Ron, it's explained a bit better in the book
Yes.
of how it's done. But like the thing is, like she's in her element, like torturing people, and it's shown, and she's shown to be a heartless motherfucker. So it doesn't really impact her the same way as it impacts someone that is good-hearted.
I will say, you guys were talking about the acting was fun in this. There was one scene where they were getting ready to go down to the courtroom or the trial area, and Ron, the character, says, I don't know what I'm gonna do, my poor wife. And Harry looks at him and goes, Ron, you're not married.
Ron got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, it was
He
great.
did,
bloody
big
hell,
time.
oh,
It was
thanks,
great.
Harry.
Yeah. It's just a really well-crafted entire interaction. And they also established that the Ministry, it's like Ministry, magic, might, and they show the Muggles being like underfoot of everybody. So
Yeah.
it does multiple things. It's really a very well-made scene, the entirety of it.
Yeah, this scene,
Indeed.
it's not just the acting in it, the scenery itself for this scene was just, it blown out of the park, man.
The visuals, they show anytime they show the Ministry, I'm blown away. I just
Yeah.
love the way the Ministry looks.
Connor?
I really don't have too much else to add to the scene, really. Although I was, maybe this is just me. Aside of that point about the necklace and Umbridge, I felt like just on paper, like Umbridge wouldn't fit in with like Voldemort's plans, but he had like that guy who was like kind of like the Ministry who was like under his wing, essentially, right? Kind of like,
The thing is, she's not technically part of Voldemort's plans.
right.
No.
She's just part of the Ministry of Magic and is also a fucking
Cunt.
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there's ever like a scene that directly involves her with Voldemort. But
Not
she's
to
always
my
had the
recollection,
inclination to be like.
It just seemed like their goals were a little bit mismatched, and that maybe it was just like, oh, it's because she was such a bitch in the last one, we're gonna bring her back. I'm not upset either way. It just is a little bit of head scratching to me, and maybe I was just thinking about it too much. But other than that, no, I do love the scene, especially with the line drop of "You shall not tell lies," or
You know what? It didn't make sense. The line itself didn't make sense, but it
No, it
was
didn't.
cool to hear it again.
Exactly how I feel about Umbridge in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, in the book, it's the same thing. She's wearing the locket,
Yes.
and it's basically like she listens to whatever the Ministry does. The Ministry is being controlled by Voldemort, but we know it as an audience, and it's shared at that wedding in the movie. But it's not. I don't think it's.
It's not
I think
widespread
the Order
yet
of the
how
Phoenix
controlled
know.
the Ministry is. It's only because Shacklebolt was the one there that he was able to get a message off to Arthur.
It's like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
So that it's not as widely known that the Ministry is actually owned by the Death Eaters now, and Voldemort in conjunction
And
with
she
that.
also kind of aligns her allegiances towards being a fucking cunt. So
Yeah, exactly.
she's not going to question it when the Ministry gets a bit more hardcore on things. And also, she's shown signs of being like, she doesn't like
The mixture,
muddled magic, right? Or whatever.
It's a minor nitpick, honestly, for me in the grand scheme of things. But other than that, I really enjoyed this part. And to second baseman's thought of the visual of the Ministry is very, very fun.
Oh yeah, always is.
God, here we go.
Yeah, when Ron gets splinched. For those who don't know what that is, it's basically
A really fucking painful splinter.
no, actually,
Yeah, like ripped apart, kind of.
Yeah, part of you, whatever part of you that is gripped by somebody who is not apparating at the time, actually gets ripped off. So he literally had a piece of his arm ripped off.
Can I just since mention that part real quick? The visual of that was fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And I know we see it again in the next one, but like the next one's not as well. Actually, the next one's also fucking terrifying that we see in the second movie.
This apparition was more terrifying because you hear Hermione screaming, "Hold on to me, Ron! Hold on to me!" And then they're in the forest, and she's panicking. And Hermione never panics, so we know something bad happened.
Is it just me, or does that feel like it was like the beta testing for fucking teleportation technology in Star Trek?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Even probably in this fucking universe.
A lot of Cronenbergs, Morty. A lot of Cronenbergs.
And this is where they start their journey, really. So let's move on. As they apparate around the countryside to camp in secluded areas, Ron becomes increasingly suspicious that Harry and Hermione are becoming more than friends. While wearing the locket, Ron overhears Hermione discover that if they can find the Sword of Gryffindor, they can destroy all of the Horcruxes. This realization that they must find another thing in a location they don't know, coupled with his rising suspicion and resentment, drives Ron to leave the group and return home. Harry and Hermione are forced to teleport away, leaving Ron no way to return, even if he wanted to. Hermione takes his exit badly, so Harry dances to a radio with her to try and cheer her up, but the romantic situation is too much for Hermione, making her revert back to sadness. Harry decides to visit Godric's Hollow, both because it would be the first time since Voldemort attacked him, and because he wishes to meet Bathilda Bagshot, who is the first woman to sit down with Rita Skeeter and write down the novella, or the biography of Dumbledore, for those who don't know. A magical historian who claimed to know Dumbledore better than anyone. They find the church graveyard, and Hermione notices that a grave bearing the name Ignatius Peverell has the same symbol on it as the one on Mr. Lovegood's necklace, and in the book left for her by Dumbledore. Harry finds his parents' gravestone, and an old woman approaches them as they pay their respects. This is where it got super creepy for me. Harry guesses that she is Bathilda, and they follow her home. Harry sees a picture of the teenager from Godric's Gregorovich's memory. Good God. As Bathilda leads him to the attic of the house. Hermione wanders around downstairs. She finds signs of a bloody attack whilst the woman in front of Harry decomposes before his eyes into Voldemort's snake, Nagini. After a fight, Harry and Hermione escape with the only casualty being Harry's wand. Hermione says that the teen from the memory was Gellert Grindelwald. Now this, oh my god, so much information going on right here. If I am remembering correctly, the name Ignatius Peveril is actually an ancestor of Harry Potter who helped create the Elder Wand.
Huh. All right then. Shit. For some reason, I thought it was like Wormtail or something like that, or like a relative of his. Just the last name kind of
but also, and to pile more on top of that, an ancestor of Voldemort's was also a former holder of the Elder Wand. So technically, both Voldemort and Harry are the rightful owners to the Elder Wand because of that.
Sure, it's not the eldest wand at this point.
Yeah! But it's fucking... Oh.
So this is the beginning of, at least for me anyway, well, I shouldn't say the beginning, but like this is where things start to get slow.
Yeah, the traveling around the countryside thing is slow. But again, those minor details that I said, that sucks you back in and makes you realize they've been traveling for quite a while, is when she sits down to give him a haircut.
This is J.K. Rowling being like, I'm going to do Lord of the Rings for the next 500 pages.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
And it was frustrating a little bit in the book, but it's way more frustrating on screen because they don't want to spend an hour and a half showing this.
No.
But if you make it 30 minutes, I think it was around what it was. If you make it 30 minutes, you got to cram so much. A lot of it is nothing, and it still feels slow because it's traveling. But it's like you got to cram those story beats into that 30 minutes, which is kind of jarring at times. For me, it was at least. Yeah. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, it was tough.
It was definitely jarring, especially seeing the growth of Ron. And how often he's wearing the locket, and just how many times. Because it's not just the locket; it's also still Voldemort's mother's ring.
And he's also fucking sick for a while there, trying to come back. I was like, why do you have to wear the locket?
Evil Dead.
They're wearing it so that they don't misplace it. Why they did not put it in fucking Hermione's bag?
They should wear their wands all the time. That's what that was. I mean, I get like the idea behind it is like, if it's kind of part of me, then I can't lose it. Someone could steal a bag. Someone can do this. Right. I mean, yes, someone can steal jewelry, but knowing that it's having such a negative effect on you, and especially the fact that they're in such secluded areas, you think only at times where you're vulnerable would you be wearing it versus wearing it night and day constantly. It's just like, it's an obvious take on Lord of the Rings, but it's executed poorly, because I think just having it in your presence, like the ring in Lord of the Rings, should just impact you negatively.
Yeah.
The wearing it thing is kind of like,
it's a bit much. It's a bit of a stretch, but you have him wearing it on and off. They're all taking turns wearing it. They all have those moments, except for Hermione. Hermione goes into more of a depression mode when she's wearing it, whereas Harry becomes a bit more aggressive, like Ron.
It's weird because I wish they kind of
foreshadowed it a little bit more.
I also wish it had like just the same effect on everybody. If it was not going to be like, if they're not going to go in depth exactly on what it does, then make it have the same effect on everybody and have everybody be kind of aggressive to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I also fucking found, like, though the travel scenes were long and they were like, there's a lot of time spent like meandering a little bit. The times that they wanted to have that sting of this is the next story beat, it some of them became a bit comical. And especially the one where Harry and Hermione are talking, and Ron steals the lights.
Yeah, to get their attention.
Like I'm here too.
I'm still here. You can't see your precious books now, bitch.
It's so dramatic. I wrote Ron's descent to Smeagol begins.
Freaking
He was starting
the
to
other
look
part.
like
The other
Spiegel,
part that
too.
was just like baffling to me is like, you things slow down, right? And then all of a sudden you just look over like, yeah, things are kind of, what the fuck's with your eyes, Ron? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there was a scene where it's like, this man should not be walking.
It
No,
just
he
turns around
should
like-
not be. And then on top of that, he's listening to this radio every day of names
Yeah.
of people that have died because of the Death Eaters. It's just like, no
Is that a
wonder he's
manifesto?
fucking pissed.
Honestly, it's a scene that works. And though I did got a little bit frustrated with it in the book, it works so much better in the book than
Yeah.
it does. This is one of the hardest scenes to like take and not make an hour out of on film that would still be boring.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a no-win situation as far as that goes. The whole like traversal was just this is where I say pacing, because the movie hits off with a bang
and then just...
and then it slows down and then it comes to a screeching halt, and the halt is too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you can't. There's no way to really. This is why I said like there's really no way to do this better. To be honest, unless you have unless you have 12 hours of a TV show and you can dedicate a bit more time and grow up to it.
Funny you say
movie-wise.
that.
Yeah.
Movie-wise, I don't think you can do it better than the way that they did it.
No, there really wasn't.
I also fucking chuckled when they're. It's like, wait, Batilda backshots?
Bathilda Bagshot. Yeah, the fucking... The names of some of these fucking people. Oh, my God.
I thought visually, Godric's Hollow was very intriguing.
Yes.
It's also a really nice change from what we have been seeing, which is
Woods.
just countryside and woods.
Whole lot of Groot.
And you know what? The IMDb thing that you're reading does say that like, she can't handle the romantic something about the romantic dance. Like that wasn't a romantic scene at all
No,
to
it
me.
wasn't.
No, that was just two friends
Well,
trying to help each other, and then it just became
The original,
too much
the
for
original
her.
Harry didn't have pants on, so maybe that's where they got the idea from that. But I don't know.
My wand is reacting to you.
Oh, is that my snitch? Dobby, be your wingman.
Dobby will watch from a closet.
Who wants to do a soaking party?
I
But
don't
yeah,
know. Houses have dicks.
they do have genders, so how they discern those genders, I don't know.
I just love how you cold stop the conversation and so serious. I don't think house help has dicks.
Yeah, but, they get to Godric Hollow, and the old
The scene
lady.
in the book was fucking amazing, and the movie was
Not
pretty good too. No, the movie.
No,
was
the
pretty
movie
good,
did
but-
a very good job of interpreting what was in the book, but reading the book, it was just like, okay, I need to stop for a second because my mind is going places it doesn't need to go right now. Because I would always read just before bed. So it's like, I'm going to be dreaming of this shit, and I'm going to end up peeing my bed, and I'm fucking 16 years old.
the graveyard scene particularly, which was, I know we just bitched about the pacing, which we still will, but
that's
That
the
was
problem with the
different.
pacing for me was prior to that. That whole 30-minute walk fest was a big problem, but it's an unavoidable problem. Anyways,
Yeah.
Connor.
no, I was just saying is that like the graveyard scene was a nice somber moment that let something breathe.
Harry
You-
finally
you-
got his closure to say goodbye to his parents because he's able to see their grave.
But at the same token, I almost peed my pants laughing when you have this quiet moment. Hermione creates the flowers, and it's very beautiful. Merry Christmas, Hermione. Like, fucking dick. What do you say to that? Fucking asshole. Like, I don't... like, Hermione didn't say anything. And I'm like, you're damn right. Like, what the fuck are you going to say?
Someone's watching us from the corner. Is the answer to that.
Yeah. I just fucking... the old lady, too. She's standing there.
Yeah.
I have noted here, she gets away quickly.
I love the amount of like assumption that goes on. I ain't following someone like that.
Oh,
I'm
hell
sorry.
no. No.
I'm out
Uh-uh.
immediately.
No, I see her over here. I'm going this way.
Well, I love how she takes her fucking sweet ass time, and it's just like, I've been spotted. Shuffle, 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 shuffle.
It's like and the fact that they follow her into a fucking domicile afterwards.
Oh god.
It's just
That
wild.
has zero lighting.
Yeah, she
And
hasn't said
he's
a word.
covered wall
She just
to
looks at
wall
you,
with
fucking
books.
quivering.
That's probably yes, old.
Yeah, it's just like, holy fuck, man. The balls on these guys for following
But
them
they,
at the same
you know,
time, and the stupidity of it.
you know what though? Like the story at this point needed this to happen. On a movie scale, but also in the books, like whatever. They needed like an uptick in something, and I like the fact that they went more with the horror element
Yes.
Yeah.
than like just another action beat. Though there is action to it, it's still.
I
Jesus
love
Christ,
what
it's
tips
Harry
him
Potter.
off is she doesn't decompose in front of his eyes. It's all happening behind him as he's walking to the only lighted room within the whole fucking house, and it ends up happening to be his fucking bedroom when he was a baby.
See, that's the thing that like completely something. It threw me off because they bust. Okay, they're in this old fucking rotten out house, right?
Uh-huh.
And they bust through, and it's like I'm like, what the fuck is with this creepy ass bedroom that's well lit
And
with
very well
electricity?
taken care of.
Well lit with electricity, not candle lit. So I went online and I searched because I was like, what the fuck is up with this room? Most people are like, oh, it's the adjoining house. But from what I recall, the adjoining house was Harry Potter's house.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if there's like some sort of like fuckery at place to be like, this was your baby room and it's like a visual fuck fest.
Yeah. That's exactly what
Because
it
I
was.
don't think it's actually there, but yeah, that's what I think they were going for. Because like you break through one wall and you're in like fucking 1928
His childhood.
in like
His
the worst fucking place in the world.
And that bitch a snake.
I know, and you bust through it. It's fucking the cleanest baby room I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it was never used, so.
It's fucked up.
But then revealing that the Bathilda is now dead and Nagini has taken over, seeing that in the movie form after reading it in the book, I still prefer the book version over the movie version, though the movie version is still very good.
Well, in general, whenever you're gonna have like book to film adaptation, I don't
Hard
think
to
there's,
live up to your
I don't
mind.
I don't think there's ever been a time where I'm like, man, the movie was better than the book. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that about any adaptation of that ever. Not just Harry Potter. I'm talking in general.
The thing is, I've watched things that I've read the book of and that kind of live up to the book.
Right.
Right.
And Harry Potter, for the most part, kind of does.
As a whole.
Like it's a very I can pinpoint certain scenes, but there's certain scenes that the movie does better than the book.
Yeah.
As well. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get shit.
Which one of those scenes is coming up here not too shortly, but moving right along with the story now. In the forest where they spend the night, Harry sees a Patronus doe watching over them and follows it to a frozen pond. He discovers the sword of Gryffindor at the bottom, and as he swims down to get it, the locket goes crazy and attempts to drown him.
I love that.
Yeah. Ron appears and saves the day with Harry.
You ginger-headed fuck! I love you.
Ron appears and saves him with Harry convincing Ron to destroy the locket with the sword. Harry opens it using parcel tongue. As it opens, this part here. Whoo! As it opens, a ghostly black cloud erupts from it while it shows Ron horrific images including spiders. A ghostly Harry tells Ron that Mrs. Weasley wanted him as a son, whilst a ghostly Hermione mocks him, asking him why she'd chosen him over the chosen one before they begin kissing. Ron angrily attacks the locket, destroying it with the sword before he returns to the tent with Harry. Hermione is furious at Ron for leaving and returning as if nothing happened, but the trio decide to visit Mr. Lovegood to find out about the mysterious symbol. Oh my god.
There's a lot to like in this. There's a lot to like in this.
I gotta say one thing first. I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
And it's not even my opinion, but long ago I watched the fucking pitch meeting for this, and so you don't want the Horcrux to be destroyed, yet it's gonna show you everything that makes you want to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
It kind of makes no sense, but that's all I wanted to add before you guys.
Because, all right, the movie's gonna have to fair enough.
Hey, shut up now, but but
God.
the scene, because this is before we find out with that flashback between Snape and Dumbledore in the second part of this, what's going on. So before knowing any of that going on, Harry seeing the Patronus of a doe makes us all wonder who the fuck is helping him, and how the fuck do they know that the sword is there?
I don't know.
But him stripping down to his skivvies, diving into a frozen fucking lake. You're a dumbass, Harry.
I blame the necklace. I thought the necklace like coming sentient and like trying to like save itself / kill Harry was pretty fucking fun.
Yeah, that was genius in my opinion. But then him not being able to find his way back out of the ice either at the same time. Poof. That's one of my fears. If ever I fall into frozen waters and I can't get back out because I can't find the hole I fell through. Oof. No.
That sentence.
I have similar problems.
Not with ice.
Sometimes with ice, sometimes without. Depends how cold it is.
One thing I'll say though, like them showing the doe Patronus, it doesn't work as well in the movie because anytime we see the visualization of Patronuses have been like hit and miss in the movie, where a lot of the time it's just like a blinding light.
Yeah.
So when they show like a formed one, it takes a minute to kind of like connect the dots.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of viewers don't think it's a Patronus. A lot of people that watch this movie and were waiting for the next one and didn't read the books are like, okay, so it's like a guiding light.
Yeah, this is your guardian angel telling you where to go.
Yeah, I don't think the connection was there. And I mean, that's the fault, I think, of previous iterations, not really showing a Patronus in its full form.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's also kind of difficult because Patronuses can look like everyone has their own, right?
Yes.
They do a good job. They show, what's her face, the cat one, earlier, Umbridge.
Umbridge, yeah.
But it's not emphasized enough, I guess.
Order of the Phoenix, I think it was. Where
they show a bunch of the kids, like, there's a dog, there's a rabbit.
Luna's is an otter.
Yeah, it's just that there's not enough significance put on the...
Yeah, because you don't really see the Patronuses bouncing around. You see the camera doing the circle around the kids while they're holding their wands up. You see little flashes of the Patronuses, but you never see you don't fully clearly see the Patronuses floating in the air.
I mean, anybody that wanted to do like a more than surface level dive on it would get what it is, but like the generic audience wouldn't really connect those dots. And it's all honestly like a nitpick I have with the next movie too because of that. But anyways.
But then I love how they just skip over the fact that, Hermione's so pissed. She first smiles when she sees Ron, and then she's like, oh, right, fucker. Poof.
That's about right.
Yeah, that's par for course.
It is. And then his speech that makes her forgive him. I had this, and I kept hearing your voice. Your voice was my guiding light, Hermione.
Like, what a weird instrument. It steals lights. It takes you to where you want to go. It knows your heart.
Explain these this fucking weird light bright bullshit because there's no instructions with this thing, and quite frankly, I've stolen my night light. I don't know how to get it back. I'm very confused. And then there's like a humming.
The biggest thing for me
being yelled in Chinese.
The way that they portray it in the movie is that he was off in a fucking pub in the middle of nowhere, and he clicked the light, and the light went through him. This is Snape's Patronus telling him where to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's how is it connected to the device? And there's questions.
Yeah, and how the fuck did he hear Hermione's voice telling him where they were?
Well, I
Harry's
mean,
drowning, you
Patronus.
cunt.
It's weird because a Patronus is supposed to be like your own favorite memory, but maybe if it went through him, it kind of awakened his favorite memory or memory of his favorite person. I don't know. I'm fucking making the movie trying to make sense.
Trying to make it make sense, yes.
Movie make good. It's how turntables have turned.
Anything else to add, Connor?
Ron destroying the Horcrux visually was both fantastic, terrifying, and also fucking hilarious.
Oh my god.
Because
Harry and Hermione coming out stark ass fucking naked.
Yep. Yep. I have on here, may not join stream, FBI at door.
They're of age now. They can.
Yeah, now.
Operate?
Now. But, like, it visually, and I like the idea of Ron conquering his fears and all that stuff, but like I like to Paceman's points. Like, so it's telling you the things you hate.
Making you angry and want to destroy it.
Right. It's not giving you any fucking incentive for you to keep it around.
Yeah.
So good on you, Horcrux. I'm sure you're going to do well. But yeah, no, visually it was like but besides from that, it was very visually like wonderful, terrifying, but also fucking hilariously close to pedo. But it was still, I did enjoy that.
Hilariously close to pedo.
Yep.
That's a sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sentences we've gotten this evening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's gonna be plenty of clips for it later.
Woo!
I love how it also skips over the fact that they somehow knew that they had to go to Mr. Lovegood's. They don't go over that conversation of seeing the necklace and then the book and then yeah.
Well, I mean, Hermione comes back in and she's like, I was looking over this fucking book she picked up from Backshots that says it's Rita Skeeter's, and it's like it shows like a document signed by Albus Dumbledore, and it has the symbol that's been reoccurring to them.
Yeah.
I don't know how Hermione's like, I want to talk to this guy. Well, I guess, but like visually, the last time we saw that symbol was from Harry's point of view.
It was because the document she was holding had something to do with the Quibbler, and he was the main owner and proprietor and editor for the Quibbler.
I thought it was because they got like something from him that had the same symbol on it. I don't know. They've seen the symbol. Whatever.
The symbol they had first seen the symbol inside Hermione's copy of the Beetle and the Bard.
Yeah, and then I know Harry saw it on his necklace.
Yep. And then they had that whole conversation with Victor Crumb at the wedding, saying that it was a hateful thing. But yeah. We're almost at the end, guys. Almost there.
Almost there.
Which, this coming scene is just... Whew. At the Lovegood house, Mr. Lovegood teaches them about the Deathly Hallows, an invincible elder wand, a resurrection stone, and the invisibility cloak, and tells them the story of the three Peveril brothers who owned them all. When the group attempts to leave, Mr. Lovegood reveals that Death Eaters have taken his daughter Luna, and that he must keep them there before they give her back. They escape the ensuing attack, but apparate to a previous camping ground where a group of snatchers are waiting to capture them and take them to the Ministry. That's not what happens. Hermione uses a sting hex on Harry's face to disfigure it, but the snatchers see the scar under the swelling. Instead, they take the trio to Malfoy Manor to collect the reward for Harry's capture. We're going to pause there. Seeing Mr. Lovegood in the state that he's in now compared to what he was at the wedding.
Heartbreaking.
Ooh.
Yep.
Every parent in the room knows that's exactly what they would look like if their kid went missing.
I mean, he would look better than I did. If that was to me, that's for damn sure. But this part was a little... There's a big question mark I have on this.
Ask away.
The concept of the Deathly Hallows, those 3 items.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
The entire concept behind them.
Yeah.
The legend of the story is these items were gifts from death itself to help them prevent their own premature death, in a sense, or to deal with a death that they have had.
Mm-hmm.
With the Elder Wand, it is supposed to be the most powerful wand, and it is supposed to prevent the person who is the wand's owner from dying to unscrupulous manners in certain ways, and be able to be the most powerful wizard on the planet, which is why Voldemort wanted it so much.
Okay, that's kind of what I was assuming based off of the way it was described and
Yes.
the folklore of it. But I wasn't 100% sure if that was. And obviously, we know what the last scene is of the fucking movie. So all he needs out is that fucking cloak.
Well, he has the cloak.
Wait, he does?
He has all three.
He has all three.
The fuck did I miss that on?
That's how he becomes the Master of Death.
Yes.
The invisibility cloak is left to him in the first movie?
Yes.
Second movie? Yeah.
The second movie.
He used it in the library.
I think you meant Voldemort had it. I'm like, how the
No,
fuck did Voldemort get
no,
it?
no, no. Harry
Voldemort
has all
doesn't
three.
like that.
Harry has two of them, but he doesn't know he has two of them.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Voldemort has none of them.
Right.
Well,
I mean, no, he never
right
has
now,
any of them.
right at this point in the movie, he has none.
He never has any of them. He never owns any of them.
right.
Never owns them, but he does physically carry one. So.
Yeah, he does physically carry one. But like, I actually love the way that they did this because
Yes.
it shows it in a way different than. I just love the animation of it. It
It
works
was
for me at
beautifully
such
done, yes.
a high level, and then it's a basic story, so I love the way that they tell it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks basic, but there's like a lot of actual like artwork being put into it. Also, it explains exactly what's going to happen moving forward. That's another one of my favorite scenes in here is the telling of that story, and
And the fact that it's
the
Ron
idea.
telling that story and not
Yep.
Hermione.
Yeah,
True.
babbity wabbity.
You've
Come on, guys, babbity wabbity.
never heard
Nobody
of Babbity Wabbity? Mom used to read it to me all the time.
Harry lived under a cupboard, and Hermione has fucking muggles for parents. Come on.
Exactly. She has dentists for parents. She was reading books about teeth.
No, I like that the way they integrate it and the fact that we know, like, I mean, as viewers, we know of certain things.
Mhm.
We know of the cloak, and there's obviously this movie does a lot of talk about the Elder Wand. We have the thing that threw me off is like the stone of like bringing people back to life or
The
whatever.
Resurrection Stone, yes.
Yeah, the Resurrection Stone. At times I was like, man, when I was younger and I was reading this, I'm like, is that the fucking Nicholas Flamel's fucking Stone of Living Forever or whatever it was?
No, that was the
Philosopher's
Philosopher's
Stone?
Stone. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one thing when I was younger, when I was reading the books, that I kind of like, oh, I know what that is, and I was completely wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also at this time that Harry has already figured out, wait, I didn't catch the snitch with my hand the first time. And that's when he first kisses it, and then he gets that message across it saying, I open at the close. So that was the first foreshadowing of this movie of where the second object is. So it's
I mean, it would have been really nice for Dumbledore to leave. You're looking for the Deathly Hallows instead of a book. He's like a fucking escape room as a person.
Or some sort of official document that might only be notable to Harry, like, I don't know, a will.
Well, as well, I am leaving a deluminator to Ron so that he will see a doe and follow it.
How
What?
dim
And I'm
he
leaving
is.
3 books of my personal favorite choice when I was a child to Hermione Granger.
So that she will read it and understand it. I get it. It's like playing to the strengths of each character.
I'm starting to think Dumbledore isn't as smart as he thinks he
I'm
says
starting
he
to
is.
think he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, he definitely is.
Yeah, he's 100%. But that's
And
that's
also,
great. I did love that part.
they described the scene of their capture completely fucking wrong because they did not go back to a previous camping spot. They went somewhere different and created a shield, However, the shield was not strong enough or complete enough because the Snatchers smell her perfume through the shield.
I remember that.
Really?
Yes. Because you remember the lead Snatcher is sitting there, he's like, I smell something. And he gets like this close to Hermione's face but doesn't see her. And then he goes, perfume.
And now ensues Connor's favorite scene. Directed
Yes.
by Michael Bay.
Oh, God. The chase scene.
Yes, they're running through the forest trying to get away from them. Fucking ping, pang, pong, ping, 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 ping. And you're literally hearing ping, ping, ping. Where is there fucking metal in this goddamn forest?
I don't know why this style bugs me in this I think it's because of it's in this movie. Like you don't think of this type of style of fast paced, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't feel like it fits with it when you've had all these other. Honestly, the combat scenes in this movie have been pretty fucking great. I haven't had any major complaints about it. But then you just switch gears to this, and it's just shaky cam, can't focus, shaky cam, oh man, overhead, down, duck around. Oh man, we can't keep on shaky cam. Like it fucking, I don't know. That shit bugs me. Just because of it just happens to be towards the end in this frame. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it fits.
What also annoyed me was the fact that, up until this point, this trio has taken on everybody and won. And in the case of the Snatchers being a fucking low-level fucking villain,
yep,
they have to run away from them. It's like, man, you fucking destroyed half the fucking Dark Wizards on the planet. And now you're going to be like, oh, can't fight these guys.
You have to remember, though, they're also short a wand.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because Harry's have a wand broke in Godric's Hollow.
Well, he's got some random wand that doesn't work well with him.
Yeah. So
he's like, it's 10 inches. It's not really that much to talk about.
But if you've seen one, you've seen them all.
And then Hermione hitting Harry with the Stinger Curse. The genius of him to sit there and give Dudley Dursley as his name.
Well, Dudley's got his fucking mark on his back now.
Sup, Big D?
Yeah.
Big D. The one thing I find funny is the next, and also what I remember fucking pitch meeting, so you're wondering if it's Harry Potter, yet he's hanging around with Hermione and Ron, and
you have no idea.
He doesn't have ID. Sure. Yeah, take him to that.
Bring him in. We have to be sure.
I'll wait till you tell that scene.
Yeah, we're up to it now. We're up to it now. Since the Malfoys and Bellatrix Lestrange can't be sure the disfigured wizard is Harry, despite the fact he's traveling with Ron and Hermione, they refrain from summoning Voldemort until the swelling has gone down. However, Bellatrix sees the sword and believes it to be in her vault at Gringotts Bank. She imprisons Harry and Ron in a cellar where they find Luna, Ollivander, and a goblin. Bellatrix, meanwhile, brutally tortures Hermione to try and find out how they stole the sword. Wormtail takes the goblin upstairs to be interrogated, and Harry summons Dobby. Well...
Yes?
Who frees Luna and Ollivander before breaking Harry and Ron out? They go to rescue Hermione and the goblin, but despite winning the duels with Dobby's help, Harry manages to win Draco's wand and picks up Bellatrix's wand. Bellatrix throws a knife that stabs and kills Dobby as they disapparate. Harry gives Dobby a proper burial on the beach where they appear. The movie ends with Voldemort opening Dumbledore's tomb and taking the Elder Wand.
Dun, 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 dun. I love the ending. I love the ending because one thing that I actually like about the scene with them escaping out of the Malfoy's mansion is that it is not a big, all stakes, all in moment. It is them just trying to get the fuck out of there.
Right.
So it's not as no shit because it's a movie's called Part 1, but it's not a high stakes moment. They're just trying to get the fuck out of Dodge, and obviously it ends with another fucking tragic moment of the best character that was the biggest pimp in this side of Hogwarts. So it's just another layer of another loss on top of everything else and the shit hitting the fan. And personally, I always love cliffhangers when it's like pretty crystal clear what the threat is. And the idea of Voldemort holding up the Elder Wand and just fucking like the sky turning completely.
Yeah.
Lightning jizz. The two of those things, it reminds me of like a good show or like sitcom or not sitcom, but like a good show where like you have these two things back to back where it's like, how could it get any worse? And then it cuts to it getting worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just something about that like just like created like a nostalgia feel for me as far as the writing, and I really, really liked it because I thought it was a pretty solid cliffhanger to end part 1 movie on.
I mean, it's the right moment if you're gonna split the last book into 2 to end it on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, but it's also like for me, it's like okay, the last movie ended with Dumbledore flying off the fucking top of the tower,
well,
and then
flying, he stayed in the air.
He flew for 10 seconds,
dropped
until he hit the ground. Whatever.
Gravity.
and them like basically being defeated and losing out, and then this movie kind of hits the same story beats. So like in terms of like, oh, you're gonna end with like a big death of a character and them kind of losing out. So though I think it's like it's a weird choice to have like normally if you read or watch any movie, it's like the hero's journey is going to be like, yeah, you're down and out and then you take a step up. This is like you're down and out and then you're down and out more.
Yeah.
And then you take a step up, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And I get like I get why they do it, because they have to kind of. There's really no way to like portray the last book in one movie. I know Boto said it should have been a 2-hour movie. There's just no way. It's impossible. People are just gonna like, any fan is gonna be like, you left out everything.
Yeah.
Because there's really even in like the 5 hours that the movie and links are together, there's no way to portray everything that's in that book.
Oh, God,
and
no.
People are still, myself included, are kind of upset that they did leave things on the cutting room floor. As far as it goes for like the scene when you get captured, I found like, and I like the Bellatrix Lestrange cutting mudblood into her arm is pretty fucked up. That is like. That's going back to like the Holocaust type shit.
Yeah, and to show just how twisted Bellatrix is, she's using a knife and physically carving it in. She's not using magic to do it. She is physically doing it. It's just, good God.
This whole movie, there's like a lot of, they relate a lot to like the Holocaust, because there is like a lot of propaganda going on in the Ministry of Magic. We see like all those people like just printing those fight mudbloods or whatever it was, like, you know, those the propaganda pieces and all the like the actual artwork in the ministry of them standing on people, and the fact that it's put on her arm exactly pretty much almost to a T for where those numbers were written for Holocaust victims. So like, it's like they're definitely going with that, and it's shown where she's like, I mean, I give it up to Hermione Granger's actress, because she's like, that is a really pretty powerful scene with her being fucking tortured there. Again, they show the fucking mirror, and this is the plot point I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where you don't establish what that shit does. This just comes out of nowhere, and people are like, "Oh, Dobby's here."
Yeah.
Which is why he doesn't summon Dobby. He looks into the mirror and says, "Please help us," hoping the person that's on the other side of the fucking mirror will come and help them.
And then you get me.
And this is the thing, from my understanding, isn't the person on the other side Aberforth?
Yes.
Yes, right? Okay, it's Dumbledore's brother.
Yes.
Who's Aberthird?
Amber Heard? She's hidden in the bed.
She Aberfifth.
Deuce. All right. Anyways, like that whole scene. It again. This is where like most of this movie is fucking gold.
Yeah.
But like, there's certain things like that 30-minute fucking walk around and the mirror, which is a big plot point that they just fucking. It'll make sense to nobody except if you read the book, and then if you didn't read the book, just ask somebody that read the book and you'll get it. Like they're really relying on the fan base that already exists. I like the fact that this is like Dobby's shining moment, and he fucking drops the chandelier and gets stabbed in the chest. Like, I mean, during the books, I guess this is like one of the more emotional beats in the books and in the movies, to be honest.
But if you didn't
and
read
it's
the
kinda
book,
like
you didn't
Prison
have.
Stakes.
If you didn't read the book, you didn't have as deep of an emotional connection to Dobby as just watching the movies. Because like JP, he hasn't read the books yet, so he doesn't understand why people loved Dobby so much.
Dobby's such an easy
in
character
the
to like.
books, he's in every book
Yeah.
from his introduction. He is in every book at least once since that point.
He's a character that has a very understandable story arc.
Yeah.
And it's like anybody that hates on the character is just, I don't know. Like, I get it, like he's a very like one-dimensional character in the movies, but he's also like there's really no reason to not like the character.
Yeah, it's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But one thing with this is I love that when they first bring him in and they face him to Draco. And they're asking, is it him, Draco? Is it him? And Harry just gives that subtle, don't fucking say shit head shake. And Malfoy is just like, I don't fucking know.
This is again why like there's such a missed opportunity with Malfoy's character, because in this moment he obviously knows who it is and he doesn't say anything, and his dad questions him. His dad, this is my point of contention with him traveling with Ron and Hermione. His dad knows that those guys travel in the same fucking thing, but he doesn't say anything.
He's just an idiot.
But no, but I get it. Like, I get what they're doing, because like if Malfoy's like, doesn't really look like him, and his dad's like, yes, it's him, yes, it's him. Malfoy's probably gonna get in trouble for not identifying him if his dad fucking knows. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It also kind of like further, because at the beginning of this movie it starts where if you look at Malfoy, he's all fucking like his dad. Lucius is all disheveled. He gets his fucking wand taken from him, demasculated. There's reasons for him being kind of on the fence, but I wish they left the line out where he's like, if we deliver Harry Potter to the Dark Lord, everything will be better now.
Yeah. He's taken our home. We've given him our home. If we return Harry Potter to him, we will get all of this back. Who fucking cares about your material things? How about getting your fucking life back to fucking together there, dude?
I wish they changed that line and was more like something a bit more like with Lucius knowing it's Harry and kind of like being a fucking father to his kid for once. Because like the next time we see these guys, for the most part, they're fucking walking away from Hogwarts in the second movie.
Yeah.
There's a moment there that was kind of lost, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and they kind of hinted at Wormtail's hand being a problem for him. However, in the book, the hand tries to strangle him.
I don't remember that shit.
He might like that though. That's the problem. I mean, that's still.
In the book, the hand gives him troubles. It doesn't obey him. It doesn't work with him the way his hand is supposed to work. It tries to kill him. It beats him up every day.
That's fucking.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? Like, okay, I don't remember, but it makes perfect sense. Even in this, it would make sense of them inserting it in this movie, because when like the first scene, and there's another like the first scene with Voldemort, he's got this table filled with people. Wormtail's not at the table. Even though he fucking brought this motherfucker back, he brought him back from the dead. He did the most important fucking task. He's like, he's treated like a fucking dog that nobody wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
What I another thing I wish they could have added in, and it was really just another foreshadowing part in the third movie. There was a dinner scene involving the professors and Dumbledore and Ron, Harry, and Hermione. And they were all sitting at the same table, and Professor Trelawney comes in, and Dumbledore stands up. And she sits...
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, and she sits there and says, no, I cannot join. When there are 13 people, the 12th person at the table to stand is the one to die. And at that point, we didn't know, because at the table, in the book, at the table, there's only 10 people. No, there's only 11 people.
Right.
However, Ron had scabbers in his pocket. So that would make it 12 people.
There's a lot of like undercover genius in the,
Yes.
the book. Yeah, for every like plot hole and shit, J.K. Rowling's just like, hey, ain't really gonna explain that. Like the story, the main story beat she wants to explain, she does a really good job of like including things that are gonna be like on the second read or third read or
Right.
third watch and be like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's...
Then it's also like a grown man sleeping with Ron. It's like, you get what you get. The Dobby death is pretty impactful for most people.
It fucking better be.
Yeah.
It's like it's really like that's the moment that's like, oh, it's the death of innocence in this story until you get to the last part.
Oh.
After watching this movie and reading all the books and having an emotional reaction when reading the books and not like knowing what's coming in the movies. Now in this one, I'm like, what if he didn't bury him? He just fucking dropped him, and you see like the
Yeah, just
high
throw him
tide
into the water.
bringing
You
his
said,
body
"Fuck
in.
you, man."
His face down in the water behind them. The high tide's just dragging
Eyeballs
him
popped
over.
open. Oh my god, that'd be fucking hilarious.
I do love the touch of them going to Ron and Bill's aunt's house instead of going to where Aberforth is right away, because it gives them that breathing space to start
Much
the next
needed,
movie.
like,
Yeah.
stoppage. I do like the fact that they handled like, okay, they went and he's like, I want to bury him, and they buried him in his nice looking place, and I like the fact that in like real world people go and leave shit there, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
I guess.
I also love that he said no magic. We do it the proper way.
With magic.
No, they didn't use magic. They dug the hole themselves. But that
that
is
is
the
cool.
end of...
Digging holes by yourself is real hard.
If
I
only we had an elf to do this.
Creature, get in here. Yeah. Okay. I will say like there's a part where there's like stone topping to Dumbledore's grave is being moved, and it looks just absolutely terrible CGI wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looks
I was
like
oh my god.
Oh my god. I can't remember what PC game it was back in the 90s, but it looked like the opening credit scene to that game. Like
Passion
that game
Christ.
developer's
It
logo
just-
in the 90s.
It's the fact that it looks like super fake and that it's kind of like done quite slowly. It's like it hangs on that for a bit.
Passion
It's like
Christ.
they only rendered the white blocks without actually putting in the stone.
I think it's just the fact that like when it comes to like one color blocks and they're carved in a manner that doesn't look real.
Yeah.
It's just not going to look great.
Mhm.
I want to
And
know.
of course,
I want to know if it was Finance's idea, or if it was the director's idea for him to get this close to Dumbledore's dead face before he took the wand.
Kiss me.
Face.
Kiss me, Dumbledore.
But that is the end of the movie.
Whoop whoop.
We are now at the point of overall thoughts, start to finish. And Basement, we will start with you since we started with Connor at the beginning.
I mean, I pretty much expressed what I thought about this movie. Overall, it is definitely a good movie. And on a first watch, I think you're going to appreciate it a lot more than on rewatches because there's moments that kind of drag a bit. There's so many things I like about this movie. The only things I really don't like are the middle 30-minute pacing. Like I said, you can't really do anything about that.
No,
It's
unfortunately.
an unfortunate side effect to it being a part 1 to a part 2, and it being a gigantic ass book that doesn't really have it's paced like a gigantic ass book. So good luck. Other than that, I mean, the ending for me, it still had it's good. It's not great, but it never would be. Like the problems I have with this is it being part 1. Like that's mainly the problems I have with it, and it's unavoidable. That being said, though, what was the last? The last one was Half-Blood Prince, and I think I gave it like an 8.25
2.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, I'm probably going to land. I'm probably going to land around an 8 point. I might go 8.25 or 8.5 with this. It's somewhere in between there. I don't know if it's better than the last one, but they have completely different failings.
Yeah.
It's like as like an adaptation, I think it's better than the last one because it's adapting pretty well. It's just like the adaptation would never really work out to be a super great movie for me. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. 8.3. Let's go with that.
Okay. Connor?
So, as I said in the beginning, kind of reverberating what I mentioned earlier, much like Basement just did a second ago, I was blown away by how powerful this movie was. It's still not my favorites. I still reserve those for Order of the Phoenix and Goblet of Fire, but it still had a lot of. This is where you're starting to get either some or build to some payoff for everything. Obviously, spoilers, next week is probably going to be a lot more payoff. But this is where like you can finally start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, although it's filled with fucking dead bodies. But the point is, I still love the beginning and the end of the movie were my favorite parts because it just like again the tonal shift at the beginning and then the pretty solid cliffhanger. Yes, it does drag in pieces here and there, but I still thought the good of it still outweighed the not so good. I wouldn't go as high as an 8, but I get as probably damn close to it as I possibly could. So like a 7.99999999999999999. There's a lot to like about this. There's still some hiccups, but I think the hiccups are very far and few between compared to the good that's in this movie.
Okay. It's fair enough. I mean, for me, because this is only part 1 and because they had to drag it out the way they had to drag it out with both how the book was written and how they were able to actually adapt it to the movie, it brings it down for me. Again, I was with Basement with the 8.25 for the last one. I am actually at a solid 8 for this one for me because of it's a part 1. There were a few things missing, and as Basement mentioned, if you don't explain the mirror for the casual fan watching it, you're not gonna get that same kind of feel for it as somebody who has read the books. But again, even in the books, the mirror's not fully explained until they meet up with Aberforth. So it's one of those juggles of just trying to get the story to be consistent enough for you to understand everything that's going on and leading you to the giant buildup before the final payoff. And that drag out scene of them traveling around. And yes, it gave you moments where it's like, okay, they've been traveling for 3, 4, 5 months at this point because now they're at the point where they need haircuts and they're at the point they're at the point of being at Christmas when they're supposed to be the beginning of the school year and whatnot. So because of it being a part 1 and the pacing being kind of fast, hard-hitting to brick wall, slow down, and just give you almost nothing at that point, I have to stick with the solid 8.
Fair enough.
I find it so hard to judge the failings of this movie because they're necessary in my mind. Which, like, I mean, to be honest with you, I think you guys are a bit more on the money when you give it like an 8 or like a slightly below that.
Right.
But I just like I can't hate on a movie that has to be the way it is.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like as as an entertain, yeah, but it's like I couldn't. I'm thinking all the time I review these movies, like what would I rather have seen or rather have done, and I can't think of a way to do it that wouldn't show it kind of in the way it is, because you'll be lambasted by people being like, you're not accurately depicting the material.
Well, I still feel like they kind of failed in accurately depicting the material because...
Well, they failed in accurately depicting the material in all these movies to an extent.
Yes. But with the slowdown points, there was a lot more going on in those than they actually depicted. That's where I'm having the problem. And if you're going to show these scenes, you can throw in those tiny little 10-second tidbits that were in the book. You know?
The 30-minute wandering through the forest shit could have definitely been done better.
Yes.
It still would have to happen. But
it would still have to
it
happen.
Could have been handled in a way that wasn't absolutely fucking... And I think the failing there is relying on, like, the... it's unfortunate, but I'm going to say relying on the acting of the three leads.
Yeah.
To sell the scenes, because they're very, like, dramatically paced, and unfortunately... That's
teen
really
drama.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know I give it 8.3. I don't think it's better than the last movie, but I find it very hard to judge it on
what it is.
All right.
But I agree with you guys. All right, cool.
All right. With that being said, we are going to get out of here. Next week we get part 2. And the final ending to this magnificent story that is Harry Potter with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Tomorrow we are doing nothing. Wednesday, possibly Sackboy, unless we find something else to play. Thursday, I will be back with Hogwarts Legacy. Friday, HGG Mode Season 2, kicking off with Week 2. And then Saturday, nothing as far as I know because JP will be traveling. And Sunday, we have no bucks given. It's a lot to keep in your mind, so be sure you are subscribed and have the notification bells turned on so this way you don't miss a thing. Have a good night, folks, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Dobby says wash your sock.
Get yourself tested.
Dobby tested, mother approved.